Hey guys, this is going to be a quick how-to video on going through the advanced menu settings for your 2013 and up Yamaha FJR1300. This also applies to other bikes using the same or similar menu displays, such as the Super Tenere and FJ09, and who knows what else they're going to stick this in the future. All right, now, you're probably well aware of the normal menu selections. You can go through your suspension settings, your grip warmers, your information displays, your windscreen operation, and you do that by clicking the menu button, and that's basically just like the selector. And then you also have these up and down buttons that you can make things happen with. So I'm turning the grip warmers up, turning them down. On this screen it cycles through the different display options. You have 3 different screens of displays, and when you're on low fuel, you have one that shows how many miles since it started going to low fuel. You have your windscreen, which operates up and down. You can adjust your shock settings. And when you're on low fuel, what it does is cut off the information display for you. And that's kind of a reminder that you're on low fuel. And to get them back on, you go to your information display screen and then select one of them. Now you have 3 stock, and this is all stock. Screen number 1 shows your range, counts down, and when it gets to, I can't remember what it is, it's either 30 or 35, something like that, it starts going to your blinky low fuel and then gives you the count up in miles. I know, kind of ridiculous. I wish they kind of did that like a car and just, you know, stuck with miles to go or range down to 0 and that kind of thing. But it's kind of a throwback to the days of carbs when you had a reserve switch. Completely irrelevant to fuel injected bikes. That's another subject though. Below that in the center you have fuel average, which is in miles per gallon. Again, this is a US bike, and this is going to be slightly different for other world markets. I know Canada has some restrictions on what it can display. It can only display like kilometers. They have some weird thing with the miles per gallon and that kind of stuff. But this is a US bike, so everything here applies to US, and most of it applies to everything else. And then below that you have continuous fuel, which is your instant fuel, if you're familiar with the terminology from the car world. And yes, my average fuel is a little low. I typically get in the low 40s when it's just me, but I've been riding a lot with the wife, and I ride a lot with the windscreen in the up position, so that drags it down to about 39. And we just came back from a ride for a couple hours, so definitely down below 40 right now. But I normally get about 42, 43, somewhere right in there when it's just me and the windscreen down, especially if I take the luggage off. Today we had all 3 cases on. And then moving on through, the next screen shows your 2 trip odometers and your main odometer, and that is plus 2000 because this is the replacement display that got reset to 0. And then the final screen shows your ambient or outdoor temp. It's 80 degrees in my garage right now. Yes, February 15th, Florida. Love it. And then it shows your coolant temp. And like I said, we just got back for a ride, so it's kind of warm at 183 degrees. And just FYI, on the 13 and up, your cooling fans kick on at 213 degrees, and they work just fine. And then you have your time trip, which is simply the time since the last time the key was put to the on position. Now, something that not a lot of people may know about, if you haven't really dug through the manual, you can customize all 3 of these screens. You have 3 lines and 3 screens. So you've got 9 different display points, and you can shuffle them around any which way you want. And I'm going to show you how to do that when we go through the advanced menu. There's a couple other cool things that you might not know about. So that's one really handy thing you can do in the advanced menu. To get to the advanced menu, all you do is hold down the menu button for a couple seconds, and you get into another display. So now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different options, and these are all in the advanced menu only. So you don't see this unless you hold down the menu button. And to get out of this advanced menu, you just hold it down again, and it comes right back to the main one. So let's go in there, and we'll start at the top at grip warmer. I admit, I had forgotten about this feature, and I'm very glad that I'm doing this video because I commented to somebody just last week on another video. He mentioned, or he asked, how well does the 13 and up grip warmer work compared to the old one? Because the old one was an analog display. You had basically a rheostat down here in the dash, and it was an add-on piece, and it was all analog, and it just ran wires through and adjusted your voltage. And it was, you know, very adjustable because it was a rheostat. And I said, well, they work really well. it has 3 settings, and I wish it had 5, because my perfect setting is somewhere in between 2 and 3. I find myself kind of flipping between 2 and 3, because 3 is too hot. Unless you have winter gloves on, 3 is going to be too hot. And 2 is just not quite warm enough, especially when I'm on the freeway. So I'd like something in between. Well, this takes care of that for you. To go into any of these, you just click the menu button once. Oh, and look at that. You have 10 different adjustments for each setting. Yes, that means you can customize what each setting actually is. Now, low is, I can barely feel it. So it was useless to me. I never used low. High, way too hot. I don't know when I'm going to use high. If you live up north in the cold, you're wearing thicker gloves, absolutely, you're going to love high. But the middle is pretty much all I ever use. So I want to bring up the middle because that is my perfect setting. To do that, you just click down to select the one you want to change, click menu to select it, and now you can adjust its setting. I'm going to kick that up to 7. Click menu again. To back out of wherever you're in, go all the way up, and you'll see the little arrow in the top corner flashing. That means if you select that, you're going to go back to the menu. So there, what I did is I turned my middle setting up. So now I have 3 settings, but the middle one is at a different spot, much more useful to where I want it. And if it's not quite warm enough, I can bump it up to 8. You know, that's really, really cool. That completely solves that problem I had and just makes it even better. So now let's go back to the menu. The second item is maintenance. Now this is kind of like a freebie for keeping track of maintenance on the bike. You can't do anything with it except reset them. They're just basically preset counters. First one is labeled oil for you. And basically the next time you do an oil change, you come in here and you can reset it. The next 2 are labeled free 1 and free 2. You have to keep track of whatever you want those to be. So it could be your final drive change, it could be your air filter change, but that's all you get, just 3, and you have to manually reset them. There's no kind of warning or reminder or anything like that. I'm not going to use these. Like I mentioned in a video I just did, I use a really cool little phone app. I believe it's called Gearhead. Just did a video on it. It tracks all your maintenance, totally custom by time, by mileage, gives you reminders. It's really cool, so check that out. So if you want to reset one of these, you press the reset button up here on the dash. Then you'll find them blinking. And you press this again to cycle through. Like we'll reset the last one, free 2. You just hold down reset and it goes back to 0. So that's all that is. Click menu again to go back out of the menu. Time trip works the same way as the time trip on the main dashboard. This is just 2 additional ones if you care to keep track of them for whatever reason. So maybe you want to do a daily time trip and then one from a gas station or who knows what. But you get 2 additional. So you have 3 total time trips. The first one is automatically reset with every key on and off. And then these 2 are manual resets. And they reset the exact same way as the maintenance. Just use the reset button. Let's go back to the main menu here. Unit. This is something that's different between US and Canadian. US can switch between kilometers or miles. So whichever you prefer to be in, and that also switches your not only your speedo, but your fuel mileage and all that kind of stuff. Everything switches. Obviously, I'm going to leave mine in miles. Go back up and menu. Display. This is the cool part that we're going to customize. So we have our basically 3 pages of information, and then each page has 3 lines. So you have to figure out what you want to see. We're going to customize display 1. So we have 1-1, 2, and 3. These are the stock ones that are showing. We have ambient temp, which I like to see. We have coolant temp, which I don't really care about unless it's getting really, 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 really hot and I think the fan isn't coming on. I want to see what temperature it is, but I don't want to see that all the time. So we're going to go ahead and change that. And let's see what our other options are. Everything else except ambient temp. So we can put anything in that slot that we want. Time trip, nope, don't care. Trip odometer 1 and 2, nope, don't care. Don't care to see the odometer all the time. Range, yes, I like range. Okay, I'm going to keep that there. Very cool. So we're going to go down and 3rd slot. Now this is pretty much going to be the page that I have up all the time. So it's going to be the 3 most useful that I glance down and want to see. Well, let's see what else is available. Oop, here we go. All through the odometers. Range, I already have that. I suppose you could put all three of the same thing if you really wanted to. Don't know why it's in there, but it lets you. Fuel average, I don't really pay that much attention to it. It is what it is. Continuous fuel, I'm not really OCD enough to keep looking and adjust my riding to what I'm constantly getting. Guess I have to choose something because I just ran of all the options. So those, you can see that those two, the ambient temp and the range, are what I really want to see all the time. So I guess I have to pick something. Fine, I guess I'll pick average fuel economy. Sure, why not? So there we go. Now, if we want to customize the next page, go to display 2, and it's stock at the odometer display. Now let's see what display 3 is now showing. Let's see if it kept it what it was or if it filled in with what's left. Not sure. Okay, so it kept what's left. So now, because I have changed these two are now on my front page, I want to put what I replaced them with here. So that was, what did I replace it with? Let's see, the Coolant Temp, that was one of them. Okay. And what else did I replace? Time trip. Yep, that was it. So there we go. So now 2 and 3 are just the kind of stuff that, you know, I'll occasionally want to see. And number 1 is the stuff I always want to see. So now that will be displayed all the time, and I've got the 3 things I really want to see. Love that feature. Brightness, the next option, is pretty obviously the brightness of the backlight on the display. I have it full up because, you know what, it's really darn sunny here in Florida, and it works for me best on bright. If you're in a darker environment, especially with overcast skies, you might want something towards the middle, which is stock. Right there. Down here, it makes a big difference. May not in your vicinity. And then all the way down is no backlight. Clock is obviously setting the clock. Nothing really to say there. So there we go. Let's back on out of this. And there we go. That is very cool. That is now my custom information screen. So now when I'm flipping through, when I'm adjusting my windscreen, I don't have to go and flip through the information pages to see my ambient temp, my range remaining, and my average fuel economy. Temp and range are the 2 that I really wanted to see the most, so that is very cool. Hope that helps somebody. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, give me a thumbs up, and we'll see you next time.